Since its 15th July 1905 Madrid premiere in the Teatro de la Zarzuela, little has remained of the one-act Zarzuela, Emigrantes, save the emblematic song Adiós Granada or Granadinas. The work proved an unexpected success for its composers Tomás Barrera and Rafael Calleja, working in collaboration with librettist Pablo Casas. By the 1920s, and at the height of his popularity, tenor Tito Schipa somehow became associated with the emblematic song, recording it for several labels, as little memory remained of its original 1905 Madrid production to compete with the phenomenal success of this new rendition. It begins after a lengthy and somber piano introduction on the Andalusian scale, as it is completely similar with the first verse, differentiated only by a coda on Dobla Campanas. We will hear the second verse of the songs ending from the first of these three recordings, hopefully. I may require technical assistance here. Yeah, this isn't.
It's mute.
No,
The laptop, you mean, or?
Yeah, I can. It will play, but yeah.
No, it's not. No.
If you click the speaker, so when you're on, where you went to talk for the volume,
Yeah.
if you click that bit.
Pay attention to the coda, that's the last time you'll hear it. Okay. Thus it would appear that a tradition eventually grew, let's see, yes. Okay, so by the 1920s and at the, okay, yeah. Thus it would appear that a tradition eventually grew out of this rendition of the plaintive Andalusian lament, as reflected in the table, being my attempt to assemble the completest possible 78-era discography of all recordings of this title since Schipa, as the song sheet had been published and made widely available by that time, its popularity in concert and radio programs makes it safe to assume that each version emulates the Schipa model. The text sentiment is rather depressing as it reads, "Goodbye, Granada, Granada mine. I'll not return to see you again in my lifetime. Oh, it pains me to live far from your plain and from the place where the body of my dark-haired one rests." Second verse is, "Toll bells, toll," at least in Schipa it's the second verse. "Toll bells, toll, for your sad sound brings me onto the waves. Such dark hours, I see her in the casket and feel the snow of her lips upon my own. This is the Dramatis Personae of the 1905 premiere. As the libretto states, the scene is set at sea in the present, a vivid tribute to the contemporaneous plight of many Spaniards to seek a better life abroad. In this context, the solo transpires amid a group of Andalusian characters assembled on deck, heralded by the ship's captain Bermejo as Lo Flamenco, and an excited young boy, Tordillo, the soprano role, declaring his love for his homeland, with the baritone hailing from the Basque region, intoning a Thórtico. Interestingly, there is absolutely nothing in any of these recorded performances thus far mentioned betraying this. While the libretto corroborates the two verses sung by Schipa, it also intersperses a chorus between them singing, Alégrate, mozuelo, alégrate ya, mozuelo, ¿por qué sigues así? Cheer up, lad. Why do you carry on so? A fact not readily knowable from any of its recordings. Bermejo interlaces these numbers by admonishing their depressing nature. These are all extra verses for the Granadinas. Notwithstanding its relative critical and popular success, reviews are short and sparse, and all including announced repeat performances spanning barely a week from the initial announcement, while the piece was still in production. Despite this, it boasted an excellent cast, and one critic deemed it worthy of wider reception amid the sparse lines of review received. Tenor Enrique Gandia, creator of the role of Maleta, who sings Adios Granada, received praise for his passionate rendering. Then, just what is it that Madrid's audiences heard 14 years before Schipa? Get this towards the This is the third verse. Third verse. We'll hear it again with another singer. I just want you to hear the end of the piece. No coda. Notwithstanding its relative critical and popular success reviews, here is evidence that, without disappointing, the singer manifested all of the duende or soul, both reflected in the libretto's anticipatory taunts and the critic's brief praise. Thus, the recovery of this evidence of the interpretation, first witnessed by rapt Madrilenian audiences at the work's premiere, reveals how these now emblematic renderings manifestly differ from the later ones. It also corroborates the press on how Gandia's command of both the musical and declamatory facets of the dialect seem wholly authentic and endemic, despite the artist's unknown origins. Was obviously from Andalusia. Almost nothing is known of Gandia's life or career. He is already heralded in one company's roster in 1902 as a tenor serio, or lead, distinguishing him from a tenor cómico of shorter extension and technical prowess in Zarzuela vocal taxonomy. What differentiates the creator's version from his successors? In this case, Gandia's delivery manifests a very different vocal line, interpreted by a flexible, distinctly timbred instrument, varied by melismatic diminutions, bridging lyrical voice production, or operatic vocality with cante hondo, or flamenco. Furthermore, whereas Skipa's coda on Dobla Campanas seems to constitute an addition to the score, it is not in evidence here. The comparison with Skipa, while important, is only to help illustrate an undegraded fact of history. Gandia's rendition of Maleta's piece was obviously supplanted in time by Skipa's, two artists separated by a common vehicle. Thus, the rediscovery of the foregoing evidence reveals that these now emblematic renderings, in all likelihood, manifestly different from the interpretation first witnessed by rap Madrilenian audiences at the work's premiere. Whether countenanced by or at the hands of the composers or not, Granadinas appears to have been completely repurposed as a concert vehicle and, without evidence to the contrary, conceivably arranged by Skipa himself. Regarding the three interim recordings, regarding the three interim recordings, in the table, it is not yet certain when the paradigm shifted, but the circa 1910 to 1913 appearance of the discs by Spanish baritone Saturnino M. Navarro and of the U.S. disc by Valencian tenor José Chaques raised speculation on that Granadinas may owe its reintroduction in sanitized form to either of these. It is conceivable this served as a model for Skipa. Interestingly, Chaques had also performed Flores Purísimas from Chapí's El Milagro de la Virgen, recording it for Victor 2 years prior to Caruso. Hence, the potential role of this tenor in the Granadinas puzzle may be one of agency, if only as a mere place marker in the timeline between Gandia and Skipa. But until we can hear either recording, it cannot be determined whether Navarro, Chaques, or Skipa brought about the irreversible transformation of Granadinas attributed to the latter and still in evidence today. Following the only known run of Emigrantes, Calleja directed two recordings of Granadinas in 1905, two by Gandia and another by the cupletista Rosita Soler. Barrera's biographer, Octavio Piedro, divulges documentation concerning Emigrantes' rights of mechanical reproduction, naming the Compagnie Française du Gramophone. This would place Calleja's recording sessions with Gandia and Solera in Paris, 1905. While Gandia's records are assigned the black G&T labels on a phone issued Soler's, hers seem effortless compared to Gandia's. The tenor redeems himself before the arguably more artist-friendly Odeon Studios recording horns, still under Calleja's baton. Whatever transpired in the company's sessions and once past the ubiquitous trademark announcements, absent from Gandia's, the brown label discs boast nearly an inch more in diameter from the competition's 10-inch matrices. For a slightly longer playtime, whether for that or for another reason, Gandia's rarer Odeon recording offers a more musically even vocal line, which, though heavily laden with melismas, breathes more smoothly than in the G&T recording, where figures collide in truncated execution, being rushed compared to the Odeon. The unassuming one-act Zarzuela thus united several figures at the threshold of their career transitions, which would doubtlessly impact Madrilene Zarzuela's scene, perhaps to the point of no return. La Soler had returned from perfecting her voice in Milan barely 2 years before Emigrantes, obviously attracting Calleja's attention, perhaps becoming his protege. This helped establish her as what I hear as the palpable vocal counterpart to the contralto soprano Lucrecia Arana, the Madrilenian soprano, who retired from the stage in 1908 after a period culminating with successful role creations in 2 new 1910 Calleja titles. Soler followed him to Mexico, touring the Americas before returning to Spain only in 1923, likely amid much change. And she begins with another verse. Ten.
Alhambra, qué hermosa eres, y qué envidia te tienen todas las mujeres. No llores, vida, que tu llanto me da pena, lo mismo que la campana de la torre de la vela.
Thus, we have seen how starkly contrasted recorded representations, verified by different artists, speak to the phenomenon of displaced original interpretations in favor of new models stemming from the revival versions, like Skipa's, thenceforward anchored as the standard. Okay. Of those examples thus far encountered, counting circa 15 sides of which I am aware, Gandia's recorded output runs the gamut of the most castizo zarzuela repertory, reflecting the strongest elements of Spain's musical vernacular, despite some occasionally uneven tone production, which one might attribute to the recording processes circumstances. These manifest a singer of considerable tonal compass and emotional range, a wholly theatrical artist endowed with vocal lyricism and flexibility, while sadly nothing outside of his mainstay vernacular light operatic repertoire of genres of zarzuela and operetta have surfaced. One interesting disc, a Spanish parody based on Lohengrin's Gralerzählung, shows the unique capability of the Spanish lyric singer of autochthonous styles.
Y profesión, pues descubierto bien del santo fuero, quedando igual que el gallo de moro. El gran poder me trajo aquí, mi padre San Pascual, el fiel de fechas, ay, Florentín, que lo dicho está. Vedado estale a todo caballero, decir.
I think it's on a loop, and I'm not. Okay, we're there. Okay, that's good. To conclude, so J.B. Steen noted the passing from one school to another at the turn of the 20th century, in the old technique of bel canto, as the old technique of bel canto ends in the 1890s, giving way to a new, almost haphazard one from the 1900s, citing Caruso and Rufo. Can a parallel of this well-known case be seen in Zarzuela, whereby older style of vocality, more naturally inherently Spanish or castizo, cedes to newer models? Well, let's consider the possibility. Arana, with a stalwart gramophonic presence in the first decade of the 20th century, retires from the stage in 1905. Ironically, the year she began in 1908, ironically, the 3 years after she began recording. Not uncommon considering Patti Fugère and other colleagues opted for the same retirement plans. Similarly, Soler's heyday coincides with the same time frame as hers. Gandia, who I considered Arana's male counterpart for this exercise, may be the exception. While his singing mirrors the attitude and delivery of a castizo cum opera approach described, the earliest mentions of him date to 1902 and his first recordings, presumably 1905. In this way, Gandia may be considered the end of an era. His career extends to the early 1930s, only to be relegated to lesser parts in new works. Last paragraph. Those Skipa's forays into Spanish language repertory are well-known stuff of musical interest. One thing is certain. When Granadinas resurfaces on his lips, it is without a trace of the presumably then forgotten Florida Andalusian sonic impression begotten by the piece's creator, Gandia. The same can be easily said for the new generation coinciding with the dawning of the new vocality ushered in, for tenors, by Skipa and arguably Fleta, both of whom interpret Spanish vocal lines with all the accoutrements of popularly accepted 1920s norms of tenor operatic vocality. Ergo, Granadinas can be held up as emblematic of a paradigm shift in how vocal lines are sung thenceforward. Thank you. Gracias. Did I actually get through that?